Now in English. Welcome to Kitchener, where it costs more for a two-bedroom than it does for a castle in Sweden on a lake. Because after 8 years of Justin Trudeau and the NDP, housing costs have doubled across Canada. In fact, the average rent is doubled, the average mortgage payment has more than doubled, the needed down payment for the average home has doubled. Justin Trudeau has inflated the cost of everything by printing $600 billion of cash, causing inflation, which bumps up interest rates and now forces Canadians into the prospect of losing their homes. 2 million people line up at food banks in images that are reminiscent of the Great Depression after 8 years of Trudeau's taxes and inflationary policies. Yesterday, he joined with NDP Premier from BC, who is probably the worst housing record of any politician on earth. Literally, look at the prices. Vancouver is now the third most expensive housing market in the world, comparing median income to median house prices. Check it on demographia.ca for yourself. This is because Justin Trudeau and the NDP have printed cash to inflate costs, and they've blocked construction by preventing people to build through bureaucracy and taxes. This, by the way, has been very good for land speculators, because if you are one of the lucky few billionaires that own plots of land that are zoned and permitted to build on, your land is artificially inflated by the fact that you have no competition, because all the other places that that competitors would build are blocked off by local government gatekeepers. Great for the very rich. Thank you very much to the NDP and Liberal Socialists for stuffing the pockets and the faces of the billionaires while screwing over the middle class and causing, for the first time in Canadian history, that young working class kids and immigrants cannot even afford the prospect of ever owning a home. It now takes 25 years to save up for a down payment for the average family in Toronto. Before Trudeau, you paid off a mortgage in that time. After 8 years of Trudeau, it now costs over $2,000 for a two-bedroom. When I was housing minister, it was $1,000. The reality is we have the worst housing prices in the G7 after 8 years of Trudeau, which is crazy when you think about it, because we have the most land to build on. It should be cheap to build a home. And then you have crime and chaos in our communities. Crime and chaos caused by Justin Trudeau's catch and release policies, supported by the NDP. Yes, they want to ban your hunting rifle, but they have no problem releasing repeat violent criminals into our streets to terrorize our people and destroy our communities. They decriminalize hard drugs like crack and cocaine while handing out tax-funded opioids that are then sold on to children, causing this opioid crisis to spiral out of control. And who profits? The big pharma companies, the corrupt big pharma companies who caused the crisis in the first place. And let's talk a minute about big pharma. Here we are in a natural health food store. Justin Trudeau has accepted big pharma's plan to force complicated taxes, fees, and regulations on natural health supplements that will cause 1 in 5 of these stores to go out of business, that will cause the majority of labels to no longer offer their product in Canada or develop them here. And of course, it will force Canadians to buy more pharmaceutical medicines, which is the goal, so that Canadians have to profit big pharma rather than taking care of their health. So while Justin Trudeau's red tape attacks small businesses that offer natural health supplements like this one, his big pharma friends make off like bandits once again. The good news, and then on top of all of it, we have the Arrive scam. The Arrive scam, where Justin Trudeau paid at least $60 million for an app that didn't work, that we didn't need, and that could have been done for $80,000. One company, GC Strategies, has had approximately $250,000 of contracts, according to a La Presse study. $250,000 of contracts for a 5-person company that operates out of the basement of a cottage for IT services, even though the company admits they don't do IT work. Well, common sense conservatives are calling GC Strategies and its employees to testify under oath at a parliamentary committee. They're refusing. And so we've put forward a motion to have them arrested and physically dragged into the room to explain where our $250 million went. Where's the funds? Yesterday, Liberal MPs started a filibuster. That's a talkathon, talking into the mic, running out the clock to prevent GC Strategies officials from being brought into committee. What have you got to hide, Justin? Why won't you bring in these consultants to explain why you gave them $250 million tax dollars? If you've got nothing to hide, get your MPs out of the way and let us bring them in here, because we have single moms who are putting water in their kids' milk because they cannot afford the cost of groceries, who are now paying taxes so that you can stuff $250 million into the pockets of this shady company. Stop hiding. Let's see the truth. The good news is common sense conservatives will bring home the Canada that we know and love. We'll axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime. Axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime. We'll axe the tax to lower the cost of gas and groceries. Notice yesterday, the lowest inflation, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. What did they do in Manitoba and Saskatchewan? Got rid of carbon taxes. They took the carbon tax off gas in Manitoba. They took it off heat in Saskatchewan. And as a result, gas prices went down dramatically in Manitoba, bringing the inflation rate down. In Saskatchewan, the cost of heat went down by 27%. No thanks to Trudeau. He wants to throw the Saskatchewan officials in jail for letting people keep the heat on. When I axe the tax, we'll bring down the cost for everyone nationwide. We'll cap spending, cut waste to balance the budget and bring down inflation and interest rates. We'll lower income taxes so people bring home more of each dollar they earn and hard work actually pays off. We'll require local municipalities permit 15% more home building per year as a condition of getting federal funds. Those that build more will get bonuses. Those that build less will be fined, so that we can clear the bureaucracy and build the homes. We'll bring in jail, not bail, for repeat violent offenders. We'll end house arrest for career car thieves. We'll bolster our borders and our ports to stop the criminals from bringing the guns and drugs in and the stolen cars out. And we'll pay for it by reversing Justin Trudeau's costly gun grab on law-abiding, licensed, trained and tested firearms owners. We will bring back freedom by repealing the censorship, by standing up against big government, by letting Canadians make their own decisions and take back control of their lives. Axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime. It's common sense. Let's bring it home.
Thank you. We'll now have time for 5 questions from the floor.
Oh, you're holding it? Okay. We've seen locally some tension building between post-secondary institutions around the international student cap. Right. We're hearing now that pressure is mounting against the feds to walk that back. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you. Great question. After 8 years of Trudeau, our entire immigration system is ruined. We used to have the best immigration system in the world, across the board. Permanent, temporary, international students, temporary foreign workers, all of our programs were the best in the world. In fact, they were studied in other countries. Why is it such a success? Why does Canada have so much immigration with so little division? Why is it so uncontroversial? Is what people asked up until 8 years ago. But then Trudeau, through his total incompetence, opened the floodgates in a way that was disconnected from the number of homes to house people and the amount of jobs to employ them. And as a result, the Barrie Bylaw Office discovered there were 25 international students living in the basement of one home. International students live under bridges and on street corners. They're sold into prostitution and gangs. Some go home in body bags. This is the nightmare that Justin Trudeau has unleashed. A common sense conservative government will ensure that if someone comes as an international student, they have to be registered for a real educational institution that offers a real certificate. 2, they have to prove that they have the income to pay their bills while they are here. 3, they have to prove that they have homes. And finally, we'll have a mathematical formula that links population growth to the growth in the supply of housing. The only way to eliminate the housing shortage is to add homes faster than we add people. And when I will be removing bureaucracy to build the homes and setting immigration levels so that our housing stock outgrows our population. That's common sense.
Thank you. Next question.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. David Menzies with Rebel News. Mr. Poilievre, for the last few years, our news organization has been covering what can only be described as a war on women. Biological males are pretending to be females, and these men are invading female safe spaces. This includes female sports ranging from volleyball to rugby. As well, men pretending to be women are gaining access to female shelters and even female prisons. This has collectively led to real women and girls being emotionally abused, physically injured, and my question, sir, is should you form the next federal government, will you make female safe spaces safe again by introducing legislation that bans so-called transgender women from participating in female sports and getting access into female shelters and female prisons?
Female spaces should be exclusively for females, not for biological males. You ask if I introduce legislation on that. A lot of the spaces you described are provincially and municipally controlled. So it is unclear what federal legislation what reach federal legislation would have to change them. But obviously, female sports, female change rooms, female bathrooms should be for females, not for biological males. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. Andrew Lawton, True North. The federal government has said that its online harms bill is imminent. They've said this bill will include, among other things, a ban on so-called online hate speech. As you know, the Conservatives a decade ago repealed Section 13 of the Canadian Human Rights Act, which the Liberals have talked about reintroducing and tried in the last parliamentary term. Will the Conservatives oppose the reintroduction of these provisions and the Liberals' approach to so-called online hate speech?
Yes, we will oppose Justin Trudeau's latest attack on freedom of expression. And I want to ask, what does Justin Trudeau mean when he says the word hate speech? He means speech he hates. So, for example, let's go through some of the things he said is hate speech. Jerry Butts, the PMO puppet master, said that it was hate speech to criticize Trudeau for using the ridiculous term people kind, right? Justin Trudeau said anyone who criticized him during the pandemic was engaging in hate speech. Basically, anybody who disagrees with his radical agenda when it comes to kids, he says is hate speech. He attacked Muslim parents who were protesting against his agenda. Is he going to criminalize those Muslim parents for protecting their children in schools? Go down the list of things that Justin Trudeau disapproves of, and you can imagine all of the things that will be criminalized. Then there becomes the question of who is going to be in charge of determining what is hate speech. Recently, a school board in Ontario banned Anne Frank's books. Okay, so would that be considered hate speech under Justin Trudeau's woke authoritarian agenda? I think it would. So anyone who thinks that speech they don't like is going to be criminalized and therefore the bill should be supported, go through that. Those people should go through the list of their own thoughts that Justin Trudeau considers to be unacceptable views, and you can assume that he will ban all of that as well. And finally, I point out the irony that someone who spent the first half of his adult life as a practicing racist who dressed up in hideous racist costumes so many times he says he can't remember them all, should then be the arbiter on what constitutes hate. Why doesn't he? What he should actually do is look into his own heart and ask himself why he was such a hateful racist. For despite his enormous personal privileges of a multi-million-dollar trust fund, being the son of a prime minister, growing up in mansions, traveling the world, why he had so much hate in his heart that he was such an awful racist. And what he should do is actually explain where that ugliness came from, and maybe in that way, rather than through coercion, he could help us all in the fight against real hate. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Good morning. Carmen Guerrero with CBC, and if you could answer in English and in French. I have a question on behalf of my colleagues in Ottawa. Does the committee need to also hear from the 2 senior public servants currently suspended amid the RCMP contracting investigation?
Yes, absolutely. The committee needs to hear from the suspended public servants. It needs to hear from all of the contractors who were directly or indirectly involved in this scandal. It needs to hear from all of the consultants that have been paid exorbitant sums to do absolutely no work. We need to bring in everybody, and Conservatives will err on the side of transparency, and we are prepared to sit all day and all night to keep the hearings going, the testimony under oath happening, so that Canadians can get the truth and we can find out where's the funds.
And in French as well.
Merci beaucoup. Oui, la réponse est oui. Les 2 fonctionnaires qui ont été suspendus à cause de leur implication dans cette affaire devraient témoigner devant le comité parlementaire. Tous les employés, les contracteurs qui ont profité de ces scandales et ce gaspillage devraient témoigner devant le comité. On doit poser toutes les questions à tous ceux et celles qui en ont profité. Je pense qu'il faut élargir l'étude, parce que depuis l'arrivée au pouvoir de Justin Trudeau, le nombre de contrats donnés au secteur privé pour des consultants à l'externe a augmenté de 100%, ou 11 milliards de dollars. Maintenant, c'est 21 milliards de dollars pour les consultants externes. Ça veut dire 1400 dollars par personne. C'est ridicule, ça n'a pas de bon sens. Il faut couper les consultants à l'externe pour économiser l'argent, réduire l'inflation, les taxes et les impôts. I want to add another thing. We need to understand how it is that the cost of consultants has grown by over 100% under 8 years of Trudeau and the NDP. It's gone from $10 billion to $21 billion. Do you know that your family is spending $1,400 on federal taxes for consultants alone? It's incredible. Every family in Canada is spending $1,400. Simple math, 21 billion for roughly 16 million households. Works out to $1,400. Can you imagine that? Do the people who can't afford to feed their families, do they understand that $1,400 of their taxes is going just for federal consultants? It's incredible. It's sick. We need an open investigation to find out who's profiting and shut down this racket so that we can axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime.
Thank you. This will be the final question.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. Iman Hamidou, the Canadian Press. Do you believe Parliament should make it law that pornography websites have to verify the ages of users so minors can't access their material? And would a future government of yours do this?
Yes. Oui. All right. Thank you.